contract to research part of the red tide situation. Have you had any ideas on that, or had input from people that you thought could be important in researching why? We know why it's caused. It's caused by runoff, and the nutrients that flow into the ocean. But exactly how it all works, I think they're still trying to research how they can combat this.
Right. Scientific research is probably the area that is the most important public policy resource that we have, because, as you know, there's an anti-science culture now throughout our economy that the Koch brothers help support, and that when people are anti-science, it leaves the door open for private corporate boards to determine public policy, of course. And
exactly,
I would support funding for that Moat Marine project that the county has going on. There's a lot of people who are opposed to it because it doesn't directly translate into people staying in hotels and buying food on Anna Maria Island, for example. They don't see the connection between the future and the present. Scientific research is critical, and to me, it's more important than building a new hotel. And even with sustainable manufacturing, this goes back to the policy at the Port of Manatee, where they told me that they had studies of sustainable energy and that they cared about it, but yet they couldn't produce any studies on it. So basically, they just lied to people in the middle of a public meeting and saying that they cared about sustainable energy. So we're going backwards. We're extracting minerals, and we all know the history of mineral extraction economies. If you just look at Appalachia, a few people get wealthy and most everybody else loses everything, and the environment gets poisoned, like we have with phosphate mining here. There's just so much that science can lead the way on this. And I think that more scientists should get into politics. I mean, I'm not a scientist or anything, but I respect their role in society, and I think that they need to be at the top of the list as far as public policy experts. With my opponent, Vanessa Ball, she has not once, not twice, but 3 times rejected science in voting against the mask mandate for Manatee County, and she's failed to protect public health on that, and that's because she puts commercial interests, like the short-term commercial interests, before long-term commercial benefits and before science. So I would promote science.
And you're exactly right there. Let me give you an example here. I witnessed an incident in the store the other day. I want to tell you about here and tell our listeners about. Again, your opponent, she opposed and did everything she could to stop the mask mandate for Manatee County. And businesses should, in my view, have no mask, no service on their door, unless there's a very good reason why not. And there isn't a reason. I witnessed this. This was in a Publix, I'll just name the market, okay, store. An elderly lady was coughing and hacking with a man, okay, and both of them, neither one wearing mask, walked into Publix, coughing and hacking, and about, I will say, about 95 or 98% of the people did have masks on in the store, thank God. But no mask on, coughing and hacking, and God knows what they had. Was the flu? Was it COVID-19? Who knows? And so anyway, a couple of people were trying to stay away from, and she didn't care. I mean, elderly, I say she's probably in her 50s or 60s, old enough to certainly know better. And unless she was a patron of your opponent, why in the world would people not care? It just shows the absolute lack of caring and lack of moral values to maintain not wearing a mask. When you think about the people that you could be infecting, because who knows, everyone was trying to get away from her, and in the store. And then I a couple of people I seen were looking. I heard someone say, another one said we should get a manager over here, and
right.
they were all wearing masks. Why not put a sign up in their door and say no mask, no service? Other stores have done that. I shop at stores, but I guess we have to stop shopping at Publix or something, or to take it seriously. I don't know what it takes to get people to wake up. Maybe this came from one of the super spreader rallies that they're having in the state here, where they spread it on this God forbidden thought of herd immunity, which most scientists believe it won't work without enormous death tolls. So anyway, I just want to let you know that what I saw and what I observed, and other people saw too, and other people are appalled by it. I don't understand. So. If you,
right, that's an amazing story, an amazing example of what flows from public policy officials, from influential people. Just imagine the difference we would have had if President Trump had just worn a mask at the beginning. Then
right.
At least we know there's millions of people who follow him religiously and do everything that he says that they should do. People who are influencers have to be responsible.
Exactly, and the people who have the science available but don't want to believe in it, those people should be held accountable. Just like we've had other crises in the country as well, and when a public official knows the seriousness of it, and their scientists are telling the seriousness of the situation, and they still try to engage in magical thinking, or whatever they want to call it, where they're getting on television and saying, oh, we only have 5 or 7 cases, it's totally under control, you do not need to be concerned, it will disappear soon. You don't even have to worry. We have stopped all travel from China. No, they did not. They already proved they have records that show 50,000 people flowed into this country from China after they said that they stopped it, because there were people traveling there, and that's why they weren't following the policies. They weren't properly quarantining the people. And not only that, it wasn't only
right.
China, it was everywhere. They already know now that it was all over the world by that time. It was too late,
I like that term, magical thinking.
Yes.
Because we're also magically thinking when we think that and say that all it takes for black and brown people to move through life with the same set of playing cards that white people have when it comes to police relations is that all they need to do is be respectful of the police and comply with what the police want them to do. But that's magical thinking, because there are countless examples of people who suffered and were murdered at the hands of police, whereas if a white person was in that same situation, they wouldn't have died, like Sandra Bland, George Floyd. It's
right. It goes on. The list goes on. And for years, and the sad thing is, when we have elected sheriffs in this area here who get on television endorsing candidates, and the same sheriff said, I will never permit my deputies to wear a body cam. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Because the corruption has been going on here for years, and that same sheriff, who's one of my favorite targets because I know some of the rotten corruption he's involved in, and been involved in, but other people who have been his victims, it makes you wonder. And he claims he's supposed to be this all-out Christian person and everything, but yet he publicly said when he was interviewed he will never permit his deputies, as long as he's sheriff, to wear body cams. That should raise red flags to everybody. It really should. When they know that body cams are a good source of information and tell the truth. Of course, if people are guilty, they need to be convicted and pay a cost for breaking the laws. But then people innocent so many times, it's the police who do not engage, and that's where the body cams come in. Police who are engaging in unlawful activity, and sheriffs, deputies that are doing this. So
and speaking
anyway,
of truth,
we got to wrap up. We've only got about a minute and a half left to admit here, so if you could just wrap up some of your final thoughts, that'd be great, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Sure can. we have already, I think, just from a anecdotal assessment, we've already collected probably more votes in Manatee County that a write-in candidate has ever gotten, just from what folks tell me. But every time you write my name on this ballot in District 5 and darken in that oval next to it, we're moving the needle. What we've got in Manatee County is not normal government. And if we have to keep voting for people to move the needle back toward normal, and long after people have forgotten my name, I want you to remember what normal government is, and I want you to keep voting for normal government. Keep listening to Society Bites Radio and Steve Ryan, because you're doing great work, Steve.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it.